talking to people and kind of talking among, in the industry of people who see different people have rankings of film festivals, and even where Sundance falls in that ranking is not necessarily at the very top, depending on who you talk to, depending on what your film is about. So just Sundance is not the end all be all of all film festivals. And so I think a lot of people come into it only knowing that one reference.
Right. And I think this kind of segues for you, because she has a film that she is in the middle of a self-release, which is the film that's playing right now as we speak. So why don't you kind of talk to us a bit about that experience and why you guys chose to go this route? Because it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, yeah. So Megan Griffiths is the writer-director of Sadie, which is the film that's playing right now at the other venue. We have made several dramas before. We had a indie drama called The Off Hours that played at Sundance 2011. Didn't get into it anymore because it's a drama, the D word. But we had a really great experience, and Sundance was, a great platform for that, and we did get distribution afterwards. But in that film and in the subsequent films that I've produced, both with her, but also even my other films that I've produced, we just knew going into raising at a certain point when we're raising the money for Sadie, we realized we want to make sure that we put together some money for P&A regardless of who's distributing the film. So we actually built that into the budget of the film.
Perfect, because I'm going to bring that up. Go ahead.
Good. And that's because we have had several films released by the indie distributors, and we've had that go. I've been very lucky to have a lot of films, find distribution and find good homes. But we've also had just we're going to tell you everything. We're going to say we're going to do this. We're not going to write into the contract. You'll get your meaningful consultation. But yeah, at the end of the day, we're going to take your film and we're going to put it onto our channels that we always put it onto. And we're not going to do anything special that you ask us to do. And we're going to take your notes for the trailer, but that's kind of all we're going to do. And then we're just going to do the thing that we do. And we don't have the time to, specifically market the individual qualities of these films and actually attune to the audiences. And because there's so much now that you as a filmmaker can do, or anybody can do, no matter what your business, in terms of targeting on social media ads, you can get very granular and specific, and you can reach your audience very, very easily. And we did not think that we would be allowed to do that with the distributors unless we had our own little section set aside that we could just do our own little campaign, basically concurrent to whoever we thought we would work with for distribution. So we were already planning on being very hands-on going into it, just because we've been through this cycle several times, and we know how it's important for every film, but I think in particular when you have the D word drama that, is
coming of age.
Coming of age drama, about a young girl, but the movie's mostly for adults. So we just knew, okay, we're going to need to bring more to this, and we're going to have to put in our own efforts. And then we got to, we premiered at South by Southwest as well. We had a great experience. We were talking to the authors afterwards, and it was just clear that it was just going to go down that road, and we were going to be doing things on the side, but by that point, the Columbus case study had come out through Sundance and their creative distribution program. I've been following that very closely. We all have, and Chris Horton, what they're doing over there at the Sundance Institute is so great. So we were like, well, should we consider taking this Amazon deal and doing our own theatrical, because we had an Amazon offer, which is only for the VOD portion. And so we're like, well, we're already planning on doing some anyway. Let's explore what it would be like if we did much more, if we did our actual own theatrical. And we looked into it, and we're like, yeah, this is going to be a lot more work than we would normally do at this time. But after talking to Danielle and talking to who was one of the producers of Columbus, who they did their own, creative distribution plan, we were like, yeah, let's do it. And it turned out we're not the only filmmakers who have been thinking about this, and we're starting to do it. Jim Cummings and his film Thunder Road, they also premiered at South by. They're doing the exact same thing. They're actually working with the Sundance Creative grant. They're working with that. We're doing our own. We already had the money raised. We took the Amazon, and we're going at it. We have a very supportive financier who's like, yes, let's do this.
So I think I want to have you do a little more, but I think one of the things to really get out of what you just said was the concept that I wanted to bring up, which is I had 2 films come out this year, which you probably haven't heard of because of some of these reasons. And so I had a documentary about Highlights Magazine that we did do a self-release of, but we planned that from the very beginning that maybe that might be something we do. But then I had a film called And Then I Go, which premiered here at the LA Film Festival in 2016. And we honestly got passes from pretty much everybody. Not even bad offers. We got no offers. And like Melanie Linsky's in it and Tony Hale, but it's a story about 2 young boys involved in a school shooting. It's a coming of age, heavy drama. Based off of a acclaimed book, doesn't matter. People don't care about that. And so yours is a book as well.
No.
Yours is not?
But also has Melanie and Tony Hale in it.
I know, right? I thought you
Teens
said
and
weird.
friends, so yeah.
There's a book called Sadie in Young YA because I roam the bookstores to look for stuff, and I literally just saw it the other day. Sorry. I'm like, I didn't know it was a book because it's not. So we know each other because I used to work in the creative producing lab at Sundance, and she went through the lab with this project, and I was telling Stephen that was probably 7 years ago.
It was like 9.
I
think 8 when I did the program, but it's been 9 years since Megan wrote the script and we started yes, we're going to make this film Sadie.
So within Then I Go, the Orchard did take it up, but they didn't give us any advance. So no money up front, nothing. But they honestly were the only option. And everyone, from the perception, the Orchard's amazing, that's great, and they do great work, but they also have this digital business that, I used to work at Lionsgate in the early 2000s. My boss was the head of acquisitions, home entertainment, and new media. New media then was streaming. Lionsgate had one of the first streaming services called Cinema Now. It's now like the digital space. I lost my thought for a second. The digital space is now more of like the home video space, right? So they're churning out titles, and actually they used to do way more marketing in home video than they do digitally because it costs more money to produce and get it out there. And so what happens is, the Orchard had said, they said they'd put about $50,000 into the marketing. And so then we did some things where we cut money, where we did the trailer because my friend had its trailers and we saved some money. We thought then that money could then be repurposed somewhere else. Well, it wasn't. They just didn't spend any. It wasn't like, we're going to spend 50. It's like, we won't spend more than 50. And great. And you got a savings. Like, I wouldn't have asked for favors if I knew you weren't going to put the money somewhere else. Right. And so we didn't get into Sundance, but we had budgeted for a Sundance premiere. So we had $30,000 sitting there. And we then did our own impact campaign. The Orchard did not see it was valuable. It was a school shooting movie. It came out the week of the National School Walkout. We felt like there's something that we can do here for awareness. But they were free screenings. We did about 10 of them around the country with Moms Demand Action and organizations, and I did this whole thing. And they just said it does not translate into ROI. Do what you want, but we don't really care. And it was really disappointing. It was really hard. I also didn't really have the bandwidth to do it. I didn't get paid to do it. But I felt it was important and that I owed it to the film and to the story. And that project, I'd been working on for about 10 years. And so the concept I want to just put out to all you guys is this idea of, no, you don't have to budget a full self-release because that's, a lot more money. But we all should really be thinking about doing a second contingency. So you have your production contingency, which on these small films you usually eat up. But I really think we need to be putting in like she did, which you're the first person I've heard has ever done that. And to just say, in case we get that digital deal where they're not going to put, and the Orchard on our last statement has only spent $22,000, and it came out in April, so they're not spending any more, and so we need to really think about what is that amount going to be, and to explain to investors what this is about, why we're doing this. It's for the best of the film, and just, you cannot touch it. Don't even put it in the bank account, it needs to be there for later because then no one just sees your movie. And so, it's something that I'm thinking about in all my films now, and just kind of, put in the back of your head because you're most likely going to need it.
And it's funny, I think, to kind of bring it full circle, I guess, the reason everybody talks about, my movie's going to sell to A24 is because they actually know how to market movies.
Right.
And they're actually passionate about the titles that they do produce or buy, right? And the thing is there are so many of these volume distributors that it's turn and burn. It's just like, if they make, 100 films a year that they have in distribution, if they make $1,000 on all those titles each, that's actually nothing. And as a filmmaker, you're not going to see a penny of that. It's $100,000 for them, which, in the film world is nothing, but
when you do a bunch of them, it ends up.
Yeah, right. So I think at the end of the day, you should recognize that nobody ultimately is going to be more passionate about your film than you are. And regardless if you're working with a big distributor or not, you have to be willing to step in, voice your passion, voice the things that are important to you, and maybe even supplement what they're doing, And then if you're in the best case scenario where you find yourself at Sundance and there's the midnight bidding war, I would even implore you to say, don't go with the dollar figure always, go with the passion, the people who are going to know how to get your movie out there. And I think back to selling a movie in 2013, and, we got a great offer from Sony. It was like just under $1 million on this movie that cost less than that to make. And I was in this ridiculous headspace, as were my collaborators, of this inflated sense of, and we did